Voters do not agree with these despicable women on The View. They are wildly out of touch with the vast majority of Americans, and frankly, they should seek immediate help.
This is why, of course, she's on The View and not working for the most powerful man in the world, because Karoline would wipe the floor with you bitter banshees any day.
Joe Biden knows how to do this.
Yes.
He knows how to do this. He's quite good at this. And you know, you can't refute anything with him because he just, when I say him, I mean,
he rambles.
Trump.
Yeah.
He tends to just.
But can I mention one thing?
Just a few days ago, we brought you the fiery exchange between new White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt and Whoopi Goldberg. But due to time constraints, we couldn't show you the full story, the unfiltered details and those jaw-dropping reactions that followed. Well, now's your chance. Brace yourself, because what you're about to witness is nothing short of shocking. And hey, if you don't want to miss more unforgettable moments like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button.
I too am a working mom and always have been. I've been a professional woman since I graduated from college or law school. But now there's, I think, a good thing, which is like the restoration of valuing so-called traditional, moms, and that's great. The women who take care of their kids full time. Most of my best friends are doing exactly that. But it seems like in the right, there's like a bit of a shift toward like, you can't do what Karoline's doing. That's actually like an unsafe or a dangerous or a bad choice for families, for children, which I reject wholesale, but you hear it more and more.
Yeah.
Do you hear that? And what do you think of it?
Right out of the gate, the woke mob did what it does best, lost its mind and tried to mom-shame her. Why? Because she dared to outsmart the self-proclaimed queen of woke, Whoopi Goldberg. And when that happens, Goldberg's army of online minions swarms in like Twitter trolls chasing a trending hashtag. With the woke brigade, absolutely nothing is off limits, not your argument, not your character, and definitely not your family. So, what was their brilliant response after Leavitt verbally body-slammed Goldberg on national television? Did they counter her facts or question her professionalism? Of course not. Instead, they reached for a 1950s-era insult and asked why a mother of a 7-month-old was even working. That's right, the same crowd that constantly chants, "Women can do it all," suddenly hit the brakes and decided this working mom had crossed some imaginary line. Apparently, if you embarrass a daytime talk show host, your punishment is to go home, bake cookies, and rethink your life choices. Hypocrisy at its peak. Self-awareness? Nowhere to be found.
I would reject that it's a bad choice. Is it a tough choice? Absolutely. You know, as a mother, you want to be with your child 24/7. You have that maternal instinct.
27.
Yeah. Not all the time. Well, right now, yes, because he's 7 months and just squishy and lovable, but I'm sure that will change. No, but you know, you do have that maternal instinct, but also recognizing like, I'm doing this work for my son and for all children to make this country better. And it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Honestly, Karoline is raising some valid points, and it's hard to understand why anyone would go after a hardworking mother just for doing her job. Let's hear what she has to say next.
It's also it's temporary, right? In 4 years, my son will be 4 years old and the president will no longer be at the White House. And then I'll move on and do something else. But, you know, this chaos of 24/7 work is a temporary matter. And that's what at least I tell myself to get through these very long and hard days. But I would reject that you can't be a good mom and be good at your job. I think you can do both. It certainly it's not for everybody. And it takes a lot of work and will and faith and prayer. And it's hard, but it can be done. And, you know, I would reject that.
And just like that, Karoline Leavitt effortlessly crushes the woke outrage, like swatting a fly with a sledgehammer. With calm conviction, she delivers what should be common sense. Yes, it is possible to balance motherhood and a career without sacrificing one for the other. Groundbreaking, right? Someone alert the think tanks. But here's where Leavitt truly flips the script. She unapologetically embraces traditional values, admitting that juggling work and raising a child is tough, and, brace yourself, not every woman is cut out for it. A woman daring to say her lifestyle isn't one size fits all? Shocking. Unlike the left's mantra of, "you can have it all or you've failed feminism," Leavitt offers a refreshingly mature perspective. She gracefully reminds us that full-time motherhood deserves respect, not ridicule, because, believe it or not, raising the next generation is just as valuable as climbing the corporate ladder. In the end, Leavitt doesn't just win the argument, she exposes the left's hypocrisy for what it is, performative empowerment wrapped in a shiny layer of mom-shaming. But if you thought they couldn't sink any lower, buckle up, because the conspiracy theorists are just getting started.
I mean, I gotta ask you, because they said it, are you aware of any plots from Elon Musk to push President Trump down the stairs?
Absolutely not. Let me be unequivocally clear about that. And watching this clip, I couldn't help but think how ironic that Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar and the rest of the ladies on The View spend their time calling Republicans the conspiracy theorists. But they have been wrong about everything they have said over the last couple of years. They likened President Trump to Hitler. They have mocked him, they have shamed him, they have lied about him consistently on their show. And it was a joy to watch them on November the 6th when they realized that tens of millions of Americans do not listen to the lies that they have spewed. These women are completely out of touch with reality.
Yes, you heard that right. The left, those self-proclaimed defenders of facts, logic, and science, have officially traded in there. In this house we believe in science, yard signs for tin-foil hats. They've sunk to the level of low-budget conspiracy theorists, the kind you'd expect to see yelling on a street corner with a handwritten cardboard sign. And their latest gem? Buckle up. According to their latest theory, Elon Musk, the billionaire currently launching rockets and reinventing transportation, is secretly plotting to take down Donald Trump by pushing him down the stairs. Yes, really. Because nothing screams evil genius like schoolyard sabotage. And who's leading this parade of absurdity? None other than the ladies of The View, the daytime talk show squad who now seem to think they're running a congressional hearing from their studio couch. Why all the hysteria? Because Karoline Leavitt had the audacity to dismantle their queen bee on live TV, and now they're out for revenge. So naturally, they set their sights on Leavitt's boss, Trump, and his ally, Elon Musk. It's like satire is writing itself. But Karoline Leavitt wasn't about to let this circus act go unchecked. She clapped back with a few choice words that didn't just shut down the nonsense. They left the conspiracy crew scrambling to whip up their next half-baked fantasy.
A lot of women are preparing themselves for the impact of the incoming administration, which has led to this growing mantra from male right-wing incels. Your body, my choice. Say that to my face.
Never one to back down easily, Whoopi Goldberg mustered what little bravado she had left to take another swing at Karoline Leavitt. Of course, it wasn't a direct hit. Even Whoopi knows the verbal obliteration that awaits anyone foolish enough to challenge Leavitt head-on. So instead, she took the coward's route. She shifted her sights to Donald Trump. And that's when she did the unthinkable. Live on national television, Goldberg spat after saying Trump's name, like some cartoon villain choking on defeat. Classy, right? Because apparently, nothing says intellectual rebuttal like spitting in disgust. But Leavitt wasn't about to let that one slide. With the precision of a surgeon and the force of a freight train, she fired back. This is what passes for debate now. Leavitt scoffed. When you can't win on facts, you resort to playground antics. She didn't hold back, calling out the absurdity of being so triggered by one man's name that you start spitting like a toddler refusing vegetables. Embarrassing doesn't even begin to cover it. And she didn't stop there. Leavitt lit up the hypocrisy. These are the same people preaching civility and respect, yet here they are turning a major network into a slapstick comedy show. By the time she was done, Goldberg's bold stunt looked less like defiance and more like desperation. The internet lit up. Memes flooded in faster than The View's producers could cut to commercial. One user posted, "These women are going to have to hide at some point. I wouldn't feel safe walking down the street if I were any of them." Another added, "She didn't just spit at Trump, she spit in the face of every American who voted for him." And plenty were convinced this was all just for ratings. "I'm convinced they pay her extra to act foolish," one person wrote.
You must have really wrestled with how you were going to meet the high bar set by Karine Jean-Pierre. Is that... Sorry, is that out loud? No, she was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how is your approach different, would you say?
I think it's vastly different. And if you ask people, even in the legacy media, even the Trump haters, they will tell you the approach has been much different. Not just from me, but
They
the
admit that to
entire
you.
White House. Oh, absolutely. They come in my office every day and they'll admit that off the record.
Oh.
Maybe not on the record, but they will say they appreciate the access and the transparency and the preparation that goes into my briefings and everybody on our team.
Now, I'll admit, I might be going a little off track here. But seriously, did Karoline Leavitt just expose the legacy media and the Trump-hating crowd in one smooth move? Because this part is pure gold. Think about it, these are the same people who've jumped at every opportunity to drag Leavitt through the mud. They've questioned her credentials, mom-shamed her, and turned woke journalism into a full-time sport. If she so much as breathes in the wrong direction, there's an op-ed on it before lunch. But here's where it gets juicy. Off camera, when the outrage dial is turned down and the blue-check bravado fades, those very same critics? They're reportedly sneaking into Leavitt's office to, wait for it, congratulate her. Yes, really. The same people who torch her in headlines are now privately thanking her for giving them the media access they never got under Biden's press team. So let's get this straight. Publicly, they're painting her as some far-right villain. Privately, it's handshakes, smiles, and whispered thank yous for actually doing her job. You can't make this stuff up. But should we really be surprised? Hypocrisy has practically become a job requirement on the left. It's not just The View, it's the entire media ecosystem. Pretending to slay the dragon while secretly feeding it scraps under the table. And Karoline? She's just standing there, seat in hand, watching the whole circus unravel.
According to an IG report from the Social Security Administration, there was $71 billion worth of fraud in one single fiscal year that we know about. And so that is a lot of fraud, Peter.
To be clear, that $71 billion was from 2015 to 2022, so it wasn't in just 1 year, and it was
$71 billion.
But it wasn't in 1 year; it was over multiple years, from 2015 to 2022.
So, are you defending $71 billion in fraud, Peter? That's a lot of money. Why is the media so against cutting waste, fraud, and abuse from the government? I don't get it.
I just want to ask
We won't be deterred. We will not be deterred from people like you and the press.
And there it is, exactly what I've been saying. Fresh off her verbal smackdown with Whoopi Goldberg, Karoline Leavitt barely has time to breathe before another woke journalist swoops in, ready to set the record straight. But was this journalist concerned about the actual issue Leavitt had just exposed, you know, the glaring fraud sitting there like a neon sign? Of course not. That would require actual critical thinking, and we can't have that. Instead, they did what they always do, attack Leavitt like a power-hungry hall monitor on a caffeine high. It's almost like they're reading from the same worn-out playbook. Step 1, ignore the scandal. Step 2, attack the whistleblower. Step 3, pat yourself on the back for saving democracy. But Leavitt? She didn't flinch. She responded with that signature calm, cutting precision, the kind that turns a 30-second clip into viral gold. Oh, I'm sorry, she quipped, I didn't realize exposing corruption was less important than satisfying your fact-checking fetish. Brutal. And the best part? The journalist, clearly flustered, doubled down. Because when you're losing, why not dig yourself into a deeper hole, right? They kept nitpicking Leavitt's words, completely ignoring the elephant tap dancing in the room. By the time it was over, it wasn't a debate, it was a demolition. The journalist didn't walk away looking like a truth seeker. They looked like an unpaid PR rep for the very fraud Leavitt had just dragged into the daylight. It honestly made me wonder, how does Karoline Leavitt prepare for these media battles? Because she doesn't just come ready, she comes surgical. Take a listen.
How do you prepare? Because you can't know everything, and you could get asked anything. And unlike Karine Jean-Pierre, you're not out there reading and furiously flipping through your tabs to try to find an answer somebody else has written for you. So how are you preparing?
So I did prepare a binder for the first briefing. My great assistant, Keegan, put it together. And then I showed up to work, and it was like this thick. And I was like, I can't even move this. I can't use this. It was too cumbersome for my brain and the way I learn and think and study to have that. It felt like added weight. And I said, I want to just go in there and speak from my mind and from my heart.
Like your boss.
Like my boss.
And that right there, that is the secret behind Karoline Leavitt's lightning-fast responses and devastating clapbacks. She's not reciting pre-approved talking points or filtering every word through a woke-approved lens. She speaks from the heart. Plain and simple. Unlike her critics, who need a focus group, a PR consultant, and a thesaurus just to craft the perfect, inclusive but outraged, soundbite, Leavitt skips the theatrics. No hypocrisy. No spin. Just raw, unfiltered reality. And that reality hits a lot harder than any recycled slogan ever could. While the left is busy doing mental gymnastics to avoid offending their own echo chamber, Leavitt's out here saying what everyone else is thinking, and the best part? She backs it up. With facts. With receipts. With the kind of calm confidence that leaves her critics blinking like deer in headlights. Honestly, it's almost unfair. While the woke brigade is still workshopping the perfect insult thread on X, formerly Twitter, for those still living in 2016, Leavitt's already 5 steps ahead, dismantling their arguments before they even hit post. In a world drowning in virtue signaling and performative outrage, Leavitt's authenticity doesn't just stand out, it's a threat. A threat to those whose entire platform is built on smoke, mirrors, and selective outrage. So when Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg reduce a clearly intelligent, capable woman to nothing more than her appearance, it's not just disingenuous. It's downright disheartening.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
At this point, it's starting to look less like outrage and more like envy. The women on The View aren't just offended by Karoline Leavitt, they're threatened by her. Threatened by her sharp intellect, her poise under pressure, and yes, her rapid rise to national prominence. Let's be honest, Leavitt has accomplished more in a few short years than they've managed after decades of yelling into the void. And when jealousy sets in, reason tends to fly out the window. So what's the game plan? Easy, say whatever it takes, no matter how petty, absurd, or blatantly hypocritical, to try and drag her down. It's like watching Mean Girls, but with worse opinions and a much bigger budget. They can't go after her record, it's rock solid. They can't challenge her arguments, she dismantles them with ease. So they resort to the tired old move straight out of the woke playbook, character assassination. Oh, she's only successful because of Trump, they whine, conveniently ignoring the fact that Leavitt was already making waves long before she ever set foot in the White House press room. And let's be real, if she were a liberal mom balancing work and family, they'd be calling her a hero. But because she doesn't play for their team, suddenly her success is suspect. The more they flail, the more obvious it becomes, this isn't about politics. It's about envy. Leavitt is winning the culture war just by existing. And with every step forward she takes, the tantrums from the left grow louder and more desperate. No one proves this better than Michael Knowles.
She's a very nice-looking lady, but it isn't true that that's why she got the job. She got the job because she was the national spokesman for the campaign, and she did a very good job in that role. And the campaign was hugely successful and communicated very effectively. That is why she got the job. Even if Karoline Leavitt weren't a pretty lady, even if she were a male, gremlin, monstrous-looking fellow, she still would have gotten the job based on how effective the campaign communications was. Furthermore, Karoline Leavitt ran for Congress. I was talking to Roger Stone about this when we were trying to figure out who the picks for the administration were going to be. He said, I think Leavitt's going to get the White House press sec job. I think she earned the job, and I like that she has been in the fire. She's run for office.
Karoline Leavitt isn't just outsmarting the woke crowd because she's clever, though, let's be honest, she absolutely is. It's not just about book smarts or viral one-liners. This woman brings real-world experience to the table. Remember her congressional run? She didn't enter the race as some token Gen Z candidate chasing clout and retweets. She won the Republican primary, steamrolling her opponents like a freight train with no brakes. And who got left in the dust? Matt Mowers, a former Trump administration official who was supposed to be the frontrunner. Spoiler alert, he wasn't. Sure, Leavitt eventually lost to Democrat incumbent Chris Pappas in the general election, but it wasn't some crushing defeat. She made the establishment sweat. She proved she wasn't just another talking head, she was a fighter. That campaign wasn't just a bullet point on her resume, it was a crash course in real-world politics, the kind woke pundits pretend to understand from behind a latte and a fact-check tab open on their browser. So when Leavitt steps up to the podium and delivers those sharp, rapid-fire comebacks, it's not just youthful confidence. It's the hard-earned skill of someone who's been in the trenches, taking hits, learning fast, and coming out tougher. No wonder the left can't stand her. She's everything they claim to support but secretly fear, smart, resilient, and actually effective.
Now to the cackling witch herself, Joy Behar from The View, whose jealousy is something to behold. Here is her assessment of Trump's new White House press secretary, Karoline Leavitt.
I think she's probably been put in there because according to Donald Trump, she's a 10. You know that's what it is.
I want to be clear, though, it's not her first job. It was her first press briefing. She worked in the previous Trump administration.
The ever-empowering feminist, Joy herself, everyone. And this is why, of course, she's on The View and not working for the most powerful man in the world, because Karoline would wipe the floor with you bitter banshees any day.
As we've already pointed out, the ladies on The View aren't just irritated by Karoline Leavitt, they're flat-out jealous. And honestly, who could blame them? While they sit on daytime TV recycling tired talking points and tossing around petty insults, Leavitt is out here working for the most powerful man on earth. Let that sink in, they're complaining from a cushy studio couch, while she's shaping national narratives from inside the White House. That's not just a difference in job title, it's a difference in relevance. And here's the kicker, they know they can't compete with her, not intellectually, not strategically, not professionally. Every time they try to go toe-to-toe with her, it ends the same way, Leavitt calmly dismantling their arguments with nothing but facts, poise, and that killer smile. Whoopi and her crew throw tantrums. Leavitt throws receipts. They stir up outrage. She drops truth bombs. It's not a fair fight, it's a professional sparring with armchair critics. The jealousy? It's not subtle. It's tangible. Because deep down, they know one brutal truth, if they ever had to trade places with Karoline Leavitt, they wouldn't last 5 minutes in her shoes.
The CNN guy, Jim Acosta? Oh wait, he's not on CNN anymore. That's right. He was like, it was just so, I would say, you don't mind the aggressive questions, you take the aggressive questions, but it was just always to the point that it was like, how do you destroy Donald Trump? How do you destroy the individuals and staff? It was so, when they do say Trump derangement syndrome, and I do think that there's also Elon Musk derangement syndrome happening too with the media, because they don't know how to handle it. How do you view that differently from the first administration till now?
Well, first of all, since you brought up Jim Acosta, he's been saying some not so nice things about me online, and I've resisted responding, but since you brought him up, I'd like to say,
let's go.
Jim, at least I have a job, Jim, okay? Just saying.
Another brutal clapback from the undisputed queen of comebacks, Karoline Leavitt. At this point, it's like watching a master chef school someone who just figured out how to boil water. And this, right here, is exactly why Whoopi Goldberg wouldn't dare face Leavitt in a real debate. It's not just about losing. It's about getting absolutely obliterated in front of millions. Whoopi might be loud, but noise doesn't win battles. Leavitt plays chess while Goldberg's stuck playing checkers, with half the pieces missing. Every insult Whoopi throws gets tossed right back, sharper, smarter, and served with a side of, bless your heart. Deep down, Whoopi knows the truth. She can put on a show from the comfort of the View's echo chamber, but in a real debate? It'd be a knockout before the first commercial break. And with that, we wrap up today's episode. If you enjoyed our sharp take on the latest political buzz, hit that like button and subscribe for more fearless, thought-provoking content. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.